I'm always interested when we talk about aliens. Well, who are these aliens? These aliens who come from outer space and invade our planet. Um, and aliens, of course, comes from alienation. How do we feel alienated? We don't even know whether they are we are alienated from them, but we just automatically assume that we will be. We'll assume that their culture is different, that they are different, and therefore they are very, very different from us. And this is reflected in our own society, where we have people who we alienate. They're different from us. Therefore, why should we want to know them? They have different cultures, different norms, and they are different people. And we keep them at a distance, and we look at them and create barriers of communication, so we don't have to have anything to do with them. And these alienated people then continue with their lives, and they form their own groups, and they in turn alienate the group that's already alienated them. So you get both groups alienating each other, and later on they become hostile, and they then began to inflict negative treatment on each other. In groups, this is we can see that, and we say often that we should help groups integrate, understand each other, and what are our differences, and how can they be reconciled. We don't do that. I am more concerned about where a group alienates an individual. So this individual tries to come within the group rank together, and they then push out the individual, and the individual is on the outside. The individual feels excluded, and if you feel excluded, you feel resentful, especially if you want to come in. You feel anger, and you can feel very frustrated, and you can feel very much alone. And that isn't a good place for any individual, because if it becomes too negative, then you can unleash destructive forces within that individual, which will then have potential of harming others. And the group that's alienating have no idea who this individual is, because they've automatically assumed that the person is alien to them, is different from them. And it could be for many reasons. It's because they may perceive the person as being gay, or from a different ethnic background, or dresses differently, or thinks differently. There are many different reasons why groups form together. When groups do that, it's usually because they themselves feel threatened. If they didn't feel threatened, and if they were an open, happy, confident group, then they would have no problem allowing others to come within and accepting them. So that's quite an interesting thing. Why would groups feel threatened by an individual that they have to close ranks and exclude people? And that's looking at the group dynamics of that, and looking at that fear, and it's something we need to work through that group of why they feel so insecure and so inferior. So that's alienation. The other area that fascinates me is when groups isolate themselves. So a group comes within a community, so it's from another country, say into this country, and decide that they don't want to accept it. They don't accept the culture that exists, that's predominant within that society. What they feel is they want to retain their own culture, their own identity, their own group norms. And is that healthy? and they then isolate themselves from the main group. And what is the impact on society for that? So there is this society that has got all these particular norms within it, and there is this other society that rejects them. So we may have a society that says, okay, that we accept equality for women, we accept individual freedom, we accept gay people, LGBTs, we expect that people have the freedom of speech. But this other group says, no, we don't want any of that. No. We believe that, for instance, that there's no equality. Men are far more superior to women. No, gay, within our culture, gay people are absolutely beyond the pale. They're people who suffer from an illness and need to be cured. No, you can't have freedom of speech. You cannot talk about our God because that's precious to us, and we don't talk about that. And you can't have images of our God. So there's all these different norms within that society. And then what is the impact on the predominant society of this group that's isolated themselves within the community? I mean, is it healthy? Is it acceptable? Or should we say, no, before you come into our society, you should integrate. You should accept the values that we have. This is why you want to come to our society, into our land, into our country, because you want to take on the norms. You have to accept the norms and the things that are acceptable in our society. And you can't impose your own values onto our society. And you cannot isolate yourselves. Because if you isolate yourselves, then you are very, very different from us. And it's a nest within a nest, or a country within a country. And if you have lots of different nests within your country, how does that impact on the local communities? And I'm saying that that's one quick way of bringing up prejudices and resentment and anger, which can lead to negative, destructive forces, which we don't want, because I think the integration is a much more possible way to go, and we shouldn't be alienating anybody, isolating anybody. People shouldn't isolate. What happens to individuals then that remain isolated? And this is quite sad, when an individual comes within an establishment and it's not, or a community, and they are not accepted as part of that community. There is a rift, and that's their perception. So they isolate themselves. They see that it's not for them. They don't want to be part of what they see. It's alien to them, and so they become isolates. And within that isolation, they can feel hostile, anger, frustration, and that can also in turn lead to negative thoughts and then negative destructive behaviour. So that isn't a particularly good state for anyone to be in. It's to be isolated and not being part of any organisation, any community. And I do think that institutions have a responsibility that they can very quickly pick up people like who come into work or come into school, come into any of the institutions, and when they come in, you can see that they're not integrated, they're not part of what's going on, and therefore they miss so much. They miss the laughter, the joking, the parties, the socialisation, and because they're on the periphery, and they become people who are looking on to something which they wish to participate. And that is extremely damaging for them, and is extremely damaging for society. We cannot allow people to be outsiders and isolates. We can allow people to be different and accept the differences and accept individual differences, which is a totally different thing. But leaving people on the outside is very detrimental. And it's one of the areas I think that if we should be more transparent on. And we need more talk about what is happening within our community, and certainly not just with individuals, but with groups that come in and isolate themselves. So there's something that we should be thinking about very strongly if we want to have a more happy and balanced society.